Hello. How we doing? Welcome to another day of the Intellectual Martyrs, Katowice. It's my final day here on the B stream. I can't believe I've already spent 3 days with you all. We're getting into our first matchup of Group C, which is the group of champions and Ragnarok. Apparently, INnoVation, Solar, Rogue, Gumiho, Serral, and Ragnarok fighting in here. As we get ready to jump on into INnoVation versus Solar. A TVZ to start our day. To the top right hand side, our red Zerg player. This is Solar. Coming in from that open bracket. Had no real trouble in the open bracket, I would say. Really kind of looked pretty confident. Probably one of the most confident open bracket qualifications that we saw, despite a bit of a harder bracket compared to some of the others. As we have down to the bottom left-hand side, the blue Terran player. This is INnoVation. One of the many fan favorites we've got in this tournament. INnoVation really needs to dig deep today because we need a Terran player in the playoffs. And I know Group D's got 3 Terran players, including TY and Bunny and Thermal. That's coming later today. And I know there's Gumiho in this group as well. But I just have a feeling that Terran's going to lose and we're just going to see Zerg Pro. So I really want to put out INnoVation. I know TY is probably a good favorite for later group today, and Bunny as well. But I really think out of this group, INnoVation is the big chance. Gumiho can do well against Zergs, but I think his style's very predictable. I think he can be very well figured out. And especially if the players get a hint of what he's been playing in the first match or so, I don't think they're really going to find many opportunities to abuse that. So, I think they'll find many opportunities to abuse that, rather. I think Gumiho's going to run out of builds pretty quick. So, I don't know. I think for this group, I'm really cheering on INnoVation. Let's see what he can do as we kick this off. On new repugnancy for map number 1. Fingers crossed we get some longer games today as well. Yesterday, all the series that I cast were like like 10 minutes long. It was ridiculous how short some of them were. So hoping for something a little bit longer here today at least. In this TVZ especially. And we should have, this group should be pretty long. TVZ is that matchup which does have a tendency to go on a little bit longer than some of the other matchups. The macro games are very common, and you quite regularly see the guys going up in towards the macro stars, and then, you know, it gets drawn out, a lot of drops, and late game is something we're very familiar with in this matchup as well. So we're going to be seeing this SCV just heading back home, scout at the third base, wasn't quite in time to block it. As we do see INnoVation's Reaper coming forwards and going to go after, well, a couple of Zerglings here already taking some shots. The drones obviously just going to be chilling in this mineral line as well. Good grenade. Just going to blast and not really hit much as INnoVation just scouts around for these early moments of the first game of the day. Hatchery dropping down on the third base, of course. The natural is about to finish from INnoVation. He goes straight into Hellions. He's double gassing it as well, so the starport is expected. Now at this point, obviously, a few different builds open up their doorways. I mean, you really kind of have the starport to question, right? Because the starport tells you a lot about what's going on. However, with Marine production continuing, this already feels a little bit like a Hellbat-based attack, where you go with a couple of Marines in the medevac to back up the Hellbats, and to really kind of hit, I mean, usually the 420 timing. So in about a minute or so, you're expecting this attack to hit, if it's the build I'm talking about. If this is a medevac out of the starport, then most definitely. But it isn't. It's a tech lab. So the Marines here just try and deny vision. And the tech lab on the starport obviously opens up in towards the option for pretty much Cloak Banshee. There's nothing really else you want to build here. Yeah, there's not really anything else you want to build here. That doesn't really make any sense. So, I mean, why get the... I mean, I guess a Raven maybe, but a Raven's actually a very passive opening for TVZ. I feel like whenever we see a Raven, it's usually like a couple of Banshees, and then a Raven is like an addition, as that's a nice group team to kill. 25 energy of the Queen wasted. So yeah, Raven just a little bit too passive. You need other units to really pressure the Zerg and apply some damage here. Because we do have these couple of Marines just kind of hanging out on the sides of the base. And just going to be looking to do exactly this. Deny this Overlord, try and stop the scouting information from Solar. As he comes forward, he will be able to see the tech lab spinning away though, researching that cloak. And so now he knows pretty much this is Hellion Banshee as the ultimate. The Overlord does its job, gets the information, and now we have Hellions from INnoVation moving across the map. Still no armory, so still not looking to be a hellbad attack, and he's going straight into the stim pack as well, so straight towards a bio-based follow-up to this Hellion Banshee opener. And that's what's so good about the Hellion Banshee. There are so many ways to kind of transition out. You can keep building Banshees and use that as a support mechanism as you go up to free bases and into factory production for mech. You can, you know, cut after a little while and build a Libero 2 to harass. You can go into the bio very easily as well by just starting the stim pack like this. Obviously, this could be a hellbat attack if you added on an armory. There's just so much possibility with this build, and I think that's one of the great kind of big things about it is we see these couple of drones getting picked away at. Spellcrawler actually relocating, so no detection here for a moment. That's going to be 4, should have been 4 kills, but he missed targeted. There's actually this Spellcrawler having to relocate as well, so the Banshee, again, undetected for a few moments. Will take a shot or two on its exit, but not too much. Definitely worth the couple of extra drones that he picked off. Just going to be seeing this Banshee still hanging around, and we are going to be seeing the Baneland speed on the way up from Solo as well. So again, that Baneland speed going, the Hellions coming through the bottom side. It's still pretty regular from Solo, getting the Evo Chambers to go into the upgrades. There'll be a slight advantage there from INnoVation as his engineering bays have started up, and he's going to continue using these Hellions to slow down the creep, and the Banshees up to the top to harass, and that, you know, that little kind of distraction should be enough for him to take the third base, put it into position, and really to work something from this point onwards. And Solo just continues through with his tech. There's the Hydralisk Den coming in. Now 2 Banshees together will start to one-shot these drones, so you don't have to be in position for as long. And again, the spores are very kind of, very much so located kind of to one side of the mineral line rather than very centrally. So your drone pickoffs is going to get some damage on this Queen as well. Pushing straight forwards, Queen will go down. Good control of the Banshees. Time to get out of there. No Overseer yet in range. It's on its way. Is that Banshee going to go down the low one? If INnoVation keeps moving, it shouldn't, and indeed it doesn't. As the Hellions come forwards, as the Queen's distracted in the main base, INnoVation takes this as an opportunity to pick off a bunch of creeps spread out the front. So already a ton of creep teamers going down over here. And Solar, again, playing one of his more macro-focused games. I wouldn't be surprised if in the series, especially if he goes up a game, or maybe even if he goes down, he is the sort of player to play a Roach style sometimes. He is the sort of player to throw an all-in there. I guessed an INnoVation Solo series a couple months ago, and obviously it's very exciting. You get INnoVation, you get Solo going up against each other, you expect great things. And Solo just all-in INnoVation like 2 or 3 times in a row, and it was the most terrible. It wasn't the most terrible of series, but it was very disappointing compared to what you expect from these players. This first game obviously seems nothing like that. So Solo definitely going for the more macro-oriented route. And INnoVation, well, he's going to play into it. 1-1 upgrade's about to finish as he pushes down this bottom side. Good timing, couple Widow Mines, upgrades on his side. There's just so much Ling Bane, though, as he presses in. He'll get nothing more than a little bit of trading depth done here. I mean, maybe a bit of damage onto the hatchery as Widow Mines. Decent splits away by Solar. Minimizes the damage dealt there. Obviously, the Widow Mines are the real be-all and end-all of this. Good target fight from Inno to pick up 2 of the forward Banelings before lifting up and having not lost a single Marine. INnoVation gets out. So good trade so far. INnoVation throughout the entire game. I mean, drone kills, the Lings. He's starting to get to this point where he's dealing so much damage that he's going to start getting into this sort of advantage, which is very difficult, or this momentum, I guess, which is going to be very difficult for Solo to stop, because there's a little point where the Terran just gets a little bit too much compared to the Zerg, and from there, what are you meant to do in terms of trying to, stop the Terran player? Because then they trade very well in the next fight, then they trade even better in the next fight, and again and again. There's going to be seeing the Hellion, the Banshees, just hanging around here in the center, trying to push those few Queens. Medevac lifts up 4 Widow Mines coming down to the south side. Another hatchery getting dropped down here up on the top. And we are going to be seeing Marines and a couple of Medevacs hanging out. As Hellions in the center with the Banshees as well. Again, cleaning up that creep spread. This is pretty much as far as you want that creep to advance. About halfway on the map. Obviously, the more you push it back, the better it is for you. But if it gets any further than this, it really becomes an impossibility to ever reach the Zerg bases. And it really starts becoming dangerous when it comes to defending your own bases as well. And again, maintaining these units, keeping them alive. These Hellions are still around from very early in the game, and that's just so incredibly useful. Because having those extra units has allowed him to keep pressuring the creep without needing more medevacs of Marines, for example. It opens up these medevacs to come to the top side instead of, having to go and clean up creeps. So it opens opportunities for INnoVation, who still has these Banshees alive. The only thing I'd say is please go repair them. I mean, why on earth not? Give them a bit more health so they can at least survive a couple of Queen shots. Right now, they are more than just sitting ducks. They are big, fat targets saying, hit me, queens, hit me. Medivacs coming through the top side. INnoVation going to drop in a few moments towards that main base. The Ling Bane Hydra Force from Solar going to start picking their way through the rocks in the center of the map. A few Hydras coming in from the top side. Marines and Widowmines into the main. Spire on the way down, obviously looking towards maybe a greater Spire transition here. As the Widowmines burrow up, that Drilling Claws allows them to do that quickly. Good connection on the Zerglings initially. And as these Zerglings stream in, it's another good lift up. And then the Widowmine connection is good again. As INnoVation now pressing forward with the rest of the army, making really good progress on this group spread. Absolutely no fear at all, because he knows the entirety of Solar's army is up in the main base defending the drop, and because of that, that's the first Bane that's really connected there, but it still doesn't get killed, it just brings units low. Because of that, INnoVation has just cleaned up all of the creep spread in the middle of the map, and suddenly Solar has absolutely nothing in front of his 4-5 bases. Down on the bottom side, okay, he's got a bit of creep here, but really not that much, maybe like a 1 creep tumor deep. Out here, he has not even a creep tumor of creep in front of his bases. It's ridiculous, and now it's that most dangerous part of the game. INnoVation is pushing as Solar's trying to tech up. He's investing into adrenal glands, Vipers, the Hive just finished building. It's a lot of money he's put into things that are not his army, that aren't going to help him fight right now. And so, with the creep denied, what a push INnoVation set himself up for. Bio coming through the top side, hatchery straight under fire, the Widowmines already burrowed here, and Solar has to attack through a choke point of the hatchery to really even get into this position. The Banes just keep rolling into nothing because they die before they reach the bio. And one in the back there actually connects because the Broodlings tank for a little bit. This is just fantastic work here by INnoVation to pick off this forward base, and now he'll just back away. Okay, he's actually going to drop. The other option is to back away, rotate to the bottom side, and push this base now as well, and really try and keep on denying that mining. These Medivacs, obviously Solar doesn't know. Are they going to drop? Are they going to head home? They are going to drop. There's a lot of these Medivacs as well, so they can take a few shots from a Sporkroll or so too, because it's unlikely going to be the Medivacs that are full of units. You can even lose 1 or 2 here in this main base as well, as the Widowmine set up. He's just pressing this macro hatchery down. I mean, the first few Zerglings in the front getting picked away pretty easily as the macro hatch goes down. The Broodlings come through again. They actually soak a couple of the Widowmine shots. There's a little bit of bio unfortunately left behind. Hydras intercept the Medivacs, but not a single kill because INnoVation responds quickly. And he's using all of this as a distraction to set up an attack on the bottom side of the map as well. Solar, this bottom right base currently acting as his 4th. If you lose this and you go down a 3-base economy against a 5-base Terran, it isn't pretty at all. INnoVation has been in the driving seat for the entirety of this game, splits away, leaves the Marauders in the front to tank those first few Banelings. The Vipers haven't had a single chance to do anything yet either. There's a few different things they can do. Blinding Cloud bio units, so they run forwards into Banelings. You can also use them to abduct Medivacs back in. It'll also be pretty useful if a few Liberators come out, you can abduct those forwards as well. And Liberators are the next stage of this game for INnoVation, preparing for the late game against the Ultralisks. As we see the bio loading up, the Ling Bane Hydra coming out. INnoVation just getting set to go. Still pushing, still moving around the map here. Still just trying to see what happens next with a drop along the top, a push along the bottom. Go pushing straight into this bottom side. Widowmine Burrows is going to be a big connection on Zergling. So much bio survivors, especially because the Banes are being tanked by Marauders again. A bit of bio stims up this ramp as well. INnoVation at this point just trying to be everywhere because he'll also drop the main but loses a full Medivac. That's nice from Solar, but what isn't nice is he's actually losing a lot down here, including the Viper. Now he's gotten up to Broodlords, which will help him sustain the 5 bases, and they will be a big kind of pushback force, but INnoVation has been trading his way into a much better situation to deal with Broodlords anyways. He's building Vikings, he's building Liberators. At this point, he's kind of trading out bio just to distract him to buy more time, so you can go into this late game setup very easily. And throughout the mid game, you might be like, well, you know, he's done this great job in the mid game, and what's he gotten out of it? Well, I can tell you what, he's gotten 5 bases up very easily. He has a very strong economy to play this late game, and he's even got a 6 command center moving into position. If that's not a dream scenario as a Terran player right now, I don't know what is, because going into the late game is never fun against Zerg, but you can definitely put yourself into the late game in better spots. And this is exactly that, as we're going to be seeing these Medivacs trying to boost away from the Hydras that have been hunting them down in the main. Liberator comes in as a bit of a distraction. The Viper and the Corruptor here trying to pick this off, and finally will get towards it. Another push forwards. I'm still a little bit worried about the Broodlords, although currently they're all the way down to the bottom, so this push on this base might just be a success story nonetheless. Widowmine starting to go off. The Changelings coming down from the Overseers. Widowmine still blowing up what they can. That base will fall. It's a good pick-up from inaugoration to kind of be able to get here, get the base, and then probably, I imagine, back away because he does not want to fight those broods. Good target fire from Solar. Targets down the ghost in the front. And that's obviously the most valuable target you can find here. I'll tell you what, though, no Overseer, so you can't actually clean up these Widow Mines yet. Better not forget they're there, because it's very easy to just think, you know, I've cleaned those up while so much else is happening. You're continuing macro, you're building up, and one Widow Mine comes off cooldown. This is actually kind of scary. As they come off cooldown, those Corruptors are almost in a bit of trouble. Some Banes morphing in, need to be careful they don't run over it as well. Big push forward from Solar through the center, going to hit this forward base of inaugoration. INnoVation, I mean, Solar can obviously use this ledge very easily. It's the problem with this central base, which is usually very good for a Terran. In this scenario, it's that little bit weaker. A couple of Widow Mines did get cleaned out. There's still some remaining. The Ghosts obviously want to try and line up some snipes. The Siege Tank comes into play. The Vikings currently killing Overlords as the snipes line up on the Broods. Vikings get a few shots off. Needs to hit that Viper. Viper does get away, though, with the Parasitic Bomb on the Vikings to bring in those lower and lower, as we do see the Ghosts still sniping. The Broods are all very low now. A couple more snipes, and they're really going to be done for. There's only a couple of Ghosts left, though. 2 snipes to go. Vikings in the sky look like they're going to win out, but then there's nothing to really clean up the last few Hydras on the ground. But there we go. The tank and a little bit of reinforcing bio will get the Hydralists. The Broodlords are down. The Hydras are done for. And that's exactly what you needed to be in, that's exactly what inaugoration was looking for. A great setup through the mid game, put himself into an amazing position. And when you hit that late game, yes, it's not going to be super easy for the Zerg player to deal with you. It's not going to be super easy to deal with the Zerg player, sorry. The Zerg's definitely going to create some difficulty. Sorry, I'm fighting my window right now. But it does, if you're set up well through the mid game, the late game gets to that point where you can set up to make the Zerg army look a little bit silly. Now, a couple of you guys might be like, well, why is Solar tapping out of this game? This game's like, yeah, sure, he lost an army. He lost his teched army, right? He lost all the Broodlords. So if he wants to survive the next stage of this game, he's going to be building Lingbane Hydra. He can't afford to get back to Broods, and inaugoration's just going to go back to picking him apart with a better, stronger army. Solar lost too much. He was absolutely in a position where he was forced into a very difficult spot. He was absolutely in this kind of weird position where he just couldn't really do much else as we get ready to jump into game number 2 on Cyber Forest. Because what was he meant to do? Like, inaugoration was going to set up an army to just come attack him anyways. I like the idea of pushing after winning a fight. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. Alright, game 2 getting started here in just a moment. Let's go straight on into this, guys. If you're wondering about our match order for the day, what you can catch here on the B stream, well, I'm happy to tell you that I am on Serral duty after inaugoration versus Solar. We're going to be casting Serral versus Solar, then Serral versus Ragnarok, then inaugoration versus Ragnarok as well, another TVZ along there. And then our 5th series is undecided because it depends on what the mainstream will pick based on the most important series for how the groups are going to turn out. So that's what's going on right now. That's going to be the upcoming matches for today on Group C. Of course, we've got Group D later as well, where we're going to be casting a bunch of Terran players, TVZs and TVPs. That's going to be fun too. But more about that later. Let's jump back into the action, as we have got to the bottom right-hand side. Our red Zerg player, who now finds themselves down a game. This is Solar. At the top left-hand side, our blue Terran from... I can't say the team. It's reciprocal, I think. It's team reciprocate. It's not reciprocal. It's team reciprocity. It's reciprocity. I can't say it. I'm not going to lie. It's inaugoration here in the top left-hand side. So game number 2, inaugoration up by 1. Well, is this where Solar changes it up? Because this was the most honest of macro games, and he just let himself get bullied by inaugoration through and through and through. And they got to a point where, sure, he started cleaning up a couple of drops and so on. It was like, okay, yeah, here we go. And there was that point where inaugoration's like, yeah, I kind of want to lose these anyways because I just want to rebuild it. I just want to distract you while I build into my larger army and I get enough Ghosts out, enough Liberators out to really be competitive in the late game. And then it's like, oh, Solar's wins are like, not nullified, sure, but they're taken back a step, because if he shut down those drops like that much earlier, this game would have looked that last game would have looked a lot different. Shutting the drops down when he did, inaugoration didn't care so much about those drops being super effective. It really was just a way to keep Solar pinned back at home while he made that switch into later game situation. Reciprocity. Reciprocity. I don't know why, like, I can't say this word. Like, I think, like, in my head, I know how it sounds. I think it's because, you know what it is? It's that weird thing where you build up a little bit in your mind. You're like, okay, I'm going to say it. I know how to say it. And then you just completely overcomplicate it, and you just completely butcher it. I got all you guys watching as well, so I feel judged, and all the pressure's on me. Oh my gosh, and I can't even say a word. Reciprocity. I don't know, like, I think I'm overthinking it. One day I'm just going to see this and just bang it out and nail it. You guys are going to be like, what do you learn how to say his team name? I'm going to be like, yeah, I always knew. I'm just incapable, apparently. Reaper coming across the map from INnoVation in the early game. Not much talked about here, but it is a Reaper expansion against a pretty fast third hatch already dropping down. Very similar to the last game. Reaper caught by the slow Zerglings. Great catch by Solar. Very well-positioned lings, and that immediately means he can go across the map with those Zerglings and maybe cause just a little bit of trouble. Command Center going to be coming up here in the natural. This Overlord from Solar moving across through in towards the main base, actually. Link speed from Solar gets started up the third hatchery. Just over halfway done as well, as we do see that Command Center finishing, morphing into an orbital command from this SCV. Get up to the high ground and survive. So a couple of Marines able to defend there. As the factory actually built in the tech lab. So not going to be a Hellion-based opening here from INnoVation, but still going to be the 1-1-1. Might be a couple of later Hellions left the factory up now. Nope, going to move that factory all the way to the side. Okay, so it's going to be Marines and a tech lab starport. I mean, I still have to think Cloak Banshee here. Right, starts the Cloak, starts the Banshee. Just no Hellions to get this going. No Hellions to get this going as the Overlord just hanging out the front. Marine from INnoVation coming forwards. Banshee getting started. We see a few Zerglings on the way out. And we are going to be seeing Solar. He's actually got a lot of Zerglings here, so he's going for a bit of a link flood. I think because he sees the Marines, he's assuming it's a 2-1-1. Even if it isn't, the lack of Hellions obviously makes a link flood very powerful. INnoVation sees a few lings and immediately starts pulling towards his middle line, but he still doesn't pull the SCVs in time, so Marines get surrounded. I think they're clumped up enough, though, with the SCVs to help. A couple more Zerglings there. Marines coming down the high ground. There's just so many Zerglings left over. Banshee shows up. This is already 7 SCV kills, and there's more lings to boot. So still Solar dealing damage here. Gets up to the high ground, lifts the depots. But this is painful because you've still got potential to kill these SCVs and these supply depots as well. Solar is still dealing a lot of damage, and Banshee just kills Zerglings so slowly because it just attacks kind of slow. Like, again, this is the risk of skipping Hellions as INnoVation, and he gets entirely completely punished for it. So with a lack of Hellions there, Solar takes advantage. Again, I mentioned the 2-1-1. It might not be that he thought it was a 2-1-1, but he definitely saw the Marine count rising up, right? And if you see that, the effect is the same. This build's very popular against the 2-1-1 because you get in there, there's no splash damage, there's no Hellions, and everything else is just sort of like, well, I just die now. So those Marines, not quite in the position they needed to be, weren't choked up, weren't so, didn't get the SCVs in front to tank for the Marines either, so it did become a problem, and that is 10 workers lost. Going to be seeing the Banshee coming in, picking up another drone. And you see the couple of Queens taking some more damage. So at least these Banshees getting some sort of counter damage done at the moment. As we do see again a couple of Banshees running over and just trying to find openings. Only 4 workers in the end though. As we do see a couple of tanks and the Marines now hanging out on this ramp. And we've seen the third CC getting started as well. I mean, INnoVation's been setting up into this like Marine tank Banshee push for a while. And is that really what he's going to commit into here? As an Overseer checks the main. Pretty fast lair in general by Solar. Hasn't used it for anything yet as it starts the Evo chambers. Can go in towards those upgrades shortly. Rush speed obviously going to be a big thing as well as the Marines pick off that Overseer. And there is the barracks dropping down. Extra racks to go into the bio follow-up. But he is going to push forwards. So Marines and tanks coming through here at the moment. We're going to be seeing this Overseer setting up just above and actually going to be cancelling that. A couple of Marines going to be able to chase it down. Good shutdown of that Overlord obviously and just taking a bit of map control. It's a bit of a weird spot. I mean, what a push. 3 tanks, Marines. This takes me back to my Wings of the Liberty days where I used to open Siege Tank Tech. You had to upgrade Siege on the tanks as well. You had to upgrade Siege, and you usually push for like 3 tanks just to force the Zerg to make units, and then not commit in, you just pull back. Well, let's see how this goes. Those 2 tanks are stacked up, so the corrosive valves hit both of them at the same time. This entire game is just going wrong for INnoVation, I feel like. He loses both the tanks here. The Banshees get shut down very easily as well. Obviously, the early work losses don't help as the Banshee gets 1 Ravager at least, which tries to chase forwards. Marines in that other tank will get home at least. So again, Solo completely changed up his playstyle from Ling Bane Hydra in game number 1 through to the Roach Ravager style in this second game. No Nidus network to speak of though, not as all in as I maybe talked about the Roach styles potentially being from Solo. Although we'll see how heavily he commits to his 1-1 timing, but he has 70 workers and he's going towards 80, so he's not going to be all in at any stage of this, as you've just seen the Marines. They're able to hold off those Roaches still. Banshee's still a major part of kind of shutting this Roach Ravager attack down. Eventually, maybe the Queens come across as well. Depends how much Solo wants to commit, but no, he actually just goes straight into the Hive. So straight into the Hive in game number 1 here. In game number 2 here, sorry. And the Baneland Nest just going to be finishing up in a few moments. The Orbital coming down on the 3rd base as well. Some SCVs getting mining. +1 missiles, +1 Carapace, all on the way out. Going to be finishing that up shortly. And again, the Refinery's dropping on the 3rd base as the creep spread. I mean, this is the difference as well. INnoVation, no early game. Helene's to slow down this creep. This push didn't exactly do much against it. And this creep's only going to continue advancing as these Queens are just going to keep dropping those tumors. Well, a couple of Marines coming forwards now, and they have Stim, so we'll be able to catch one of the Queens at least, probably 2. Here comes the Lings and the Roaches, though, as he really wanted that 3rd Queen. Doesn't quite find it. Still didn't kill any creep spread, though, just a couple of new tumors. And the creep is already protruding past the halfway marker, so INnoVation needs to be really careful about that, because he's also got the creep avenue on the top, and soon this creep avenue on the left is going to be pretty substantial as well. And this is down towards the 5th base here, so once that's in front of the 5th base, it just makes that base so much harder to press into also. Still making a lot of Lings now, switching from the Roach Ravager style into Ling Bane Roach. So mostly going to be focusing on Ling Bane, and obviously with the Hive tech done, you can build up a little bit further as well, teching in towards the Vipers, and this time an Ultra's Cavern. So completely different game plan from Solo through and through. As we see the Medivacs dropping into the main base. The Spore Crawler from Solo coming over to the left, but the Bio very quickly able to push that back. Right, that Spore getting pushed back very quickly here. The Roaches going to get taken down. Well, here comes the larger attack from INnoVation. I mean, he has the upgrades. He actually only has 1-1 upgrades. Wow, this doesn't even have 2-2. This feels very all-in from INnoVation. Like, almost like if this doesn't work, I'm in a lot of trouble all-in. Let's see what happens. Bio pushes forwards. I mean, there's just no 2-2 upgrades, right? There's no armory. I don't think he has any intention of going beyond this. A few Banelings do connect as the tanks get a few shots off on the exit of the Roaches and Ravagers. And INnoVation might get this base, but what does that really do for him? He denies a 5th base while he's sitting on 3 bases himself with nowhere to go as this game continues. I don't know if this is enough for him, but he's going to unsiege and back away. And he still isn't on an armory, so how on earth is he going to continue upgrades? He's going to fall further and further behind in that regard. Taking a moment to clean out a couple of creep tumors here. Another wave of Bio coming across the map. 2 Medivacs trying to harass around at the same time. And they're getting a couple of drones, little bits and pieces. It's pulling the units out of position most importantly, which gives INnoVation the chance to set up attacks elsewhere. Some Zerglings setting up on the right hand side of this 3rd base. A few supply depots already here to kind of wall off this area. It's a little bit of Baneling burst though. Will be able to take those down, and INnoVation is going to instantly run away from the SCVs. Loses 8 immediately. Siege tank siege on the high ground. SCVs will get back. Nice target fire as well on the Banes, by the way. Could have hit the Zerglings there, but nope, target fired the Banes. This is going to be the most effective way to utilize that tank shot. This is really bad though. Vipers are obviously up and full of energy now. The Ultras are on the way out as well. Kindness plate and about to be done. It only takes a couple of Ultras to really sway this fight into the Zerg's favor even further. As the Blinding Clouds come down on the Siege Tanks all across them. The Siege Tanks will do absolutely nothing in this, and the rest of the Zerg just swarms on in. The Liberators show up way too late to do anything either. Even if they sieged up, the Corrosive Bowels will get rid of them in seconds. And they're going to siege up now. Corrosive Bowels should just drop very quickly, very easily. And, well, one of the 2 Liberators goes down. The other one will take a few moments, but it doesn't matter because the entire ground army from Solo is just swelling across the army of INnoVation. He's continue to chase the Marauder drop. He's dropping his run by into the natural expansion too, so he's already losing SCVs over there. And Solar ties up this series 1-1. With the early Zerglings punishing the lack of the Hellions in this build order. And it's going to give Solar the advantage in that second game to run through and tie this up. All right. Game 3 on Kairos Junction. I'm going to be into this in a moment or so. I'm just opening up my main stream. Want to see how those games are going already. Apparently Cyril is microing like a god, and he's already 1-0 up against Rogue. God damn it. This guy's just insane. He's just so freaking good. It's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Damn. Alright. Jumping into game number 3, sorry. I am looking at the main stream, apologies. Let's jump into game 3 then. INnoVation versus Solar. On Kairos Junction, I mean, the map looks a bit more like Cyber Forest than it does New Repugnancy. So we'll see if Solar wants to play a Roach-based style again. The bases, especially going up to 4 base, there's definitely openings for a Roach Ravager-based attack. As we kick this off, to the top left-hand side, have a blue Terran player taking that first macro-based game. But falling off a little bit in game 2. Let's see what his build is in game 3, because I think that really tells us a lot of how this is going to go. This is INnoVation. And he is up against the red Zerg in the bottom right, Solar. As he set up into game number 3. Okay, so looking to see what Solar's going to bring out himself here, but I think a lot of it initially will definitely rely on what INnoVation is doing, such as, again, those early lings. Last game was definitely a response to the lack of Hellions. This game, obviously he'll react, but then what does he play mid-game? Does he play that Roach style? Does he play a Ling Bane? It's not really a great map for Ling Bane Muta. If you wanted to play Ling Bane Muta, there's definitely better maps for it. Year Zero, King's Cove. This does feel like a very roachable map. This base here you can attack into with roaches quite nicely. This base isn't that bad as well once those rocks go down. So it definitely kind of has those attack paths where, you know, the 3rd, 4th bases, you can put the roaches to use. And that's obviously what you want to do with them when you get them going. Hatchery on the way up here in the natural expansion then. Overlord from Solar starting to head up towards the upper left side, and INnoVation will send an SCV out onto the map, heading down to the lower right side to see what's going on. So SCV down to the bottom right here is going to be seen as Overlord of Solar, moving over to the side. Just going to take that high ground in a moment or two as INnoVation going to move through in towards the natural. But then he decides to back away. He saw the creep spread, which is actually kind of all he wants to see anyways. He just wants to see, okay, you're on a natural hatchery. It's a hatchery first. Perfect. I know I can send my Reaper across the map rather than keeping it at home. INnoVation then comes into position to try and deny the 3rd base from coming down. Obviously, if you block the 3rd base initially, then the Reaper shows up. Then you can kind of really slow that drone down from building the 3rd for a long time. But Solar actually opts for the downward 3rd base, so this is a little bit more awkward because it definitely opens him up to a bit more harassment. Now it's very easy for INnoVation to arrive in the back of this mineral line here with a Liberator or a drop. Obviously, you can push this base fairly easily, a bit more easily than this base even. And you can drop from this base to this base, whereas if you're over here, it just naturally sort of defends this mineral line here, I think, which now this base doesn't really defend this mineral line at all, because you can still drop around the base. So it's an interesting little position that Solar's opted for with that 3rd hatchery. Two Hellions from INnoVation coming down to the bottom right-hand side. Going to be joining up with the Reaper from INnoVation. As we see the tech lab dropping down on the starport. A couple more SCVs on the way out, and we do just see the Reaper grenade dropping down and just threatening at the front there as the creep spread from Solar will want to keep on pressing forwards a little bit. Overlord just sitting ahead of the third base then. INnoVation into that Cloak Banshee again. He's been loving this series. Used in every single game now. As we do see the two Queens turning that Hellion from INnoVation away. And the Reaper from INnoVation thinking about maybe popping towards the main base, but not quite going to find the opportunity. Zerglin's on the way out as well. And we're seeing this Overlord coming through the main base, going to be targeted down by these couple of Marines. So Marines will be able to get that kill right now. Overlord falls, and the Bane Nest dropping down on the front of the natural. So Bane Nest coming through. Spore Crawlers being built. A few drones on the way up. And here we go. Hellions and a Reaper starting to come through the middle of the map now. So I think this game is only 4.5 minutes in, but it feels like we've had some good setup here. I mean, that third base really just interests me in terms of what Solar's set up for already. Lantern from INnoVation drops at the front. A couple of Marines just hiding away behind that supply depot. Zerglin gets taken down. Hellions running forwards, and Queen's very quickly going to come in and be able to turn those Hellions away. So Hellions getting shut down there as well. Banshee about to arrive in the natural. Tell you what, we haven't seen a single opportunity so far for Hellions to just sneak into a base and just roast a bunch of drones. So that's a big positive, actually. That's a really big positive as we see this Banshee showing up. And we'll start to pick its way through a bunch of these drones as well in the natural, but actually doesn't get a second shot on any of them until just now. So unfortunately, INnoVation doesn't actually get that much damage dealt. Overlord still just hanging out to the side of the third. Hellions wanting to dive on in. Queen taking a couple of shots of damage. Still Hellions, for the most part, they're going to be retained, right? We saw it in game number 1. The retention of units, keeping those alive, making sure you have those on your side, and just kind of, you know, always have them as a backup, ready to keep on clearing creep. And there's just so much you can do with them if you keep them alive, and they just become so useful as the game continues. We see the double Banshee squad now, straight in, one drone, just gets that second drone as well. Nothing transferring down from the main base just yet, although the Queen is on the wrong side of the lair, and so that probably will die. You'll dive in for that final shot. Oh, hits a drone with only one of the Banshees as well. Now that's a shame. That probably should have been a Queen kill if micro probably by INnoVation. Just a little bit of a mistake there by him then. And he gets another few drones over on this side. Again, this is the point where Solar, you got to start worrying for him as he goes into melee upgrades, his Bane speed. We're expecting to see that lair-based tech very shortly, probably the Hydralisk Den once again. But you really have to worry for Solar because he's losing drones. INnoVation's getting to that position where he can just harass around the map and just be in full control of the game. And that's what was so good for INnoVation back in game number 1. That just really led to an entire game where, yes, it went on for a while, but Solar never really looked like he had an opportunity. It was just all about INnoVation. INnoVation this, INnoVation that. Armory drops down from INnoVation in the naturals. We see 2-2 upgrades will be ready to start then, right after the 1-1. So keeping on point with this as the Banshee's going to get turned away. One of them actually getting picked off, so Queen's in the forward spot. Able to do something there, but obviously out of position to help with this attack if they want to. Fourth base under a lot of pressure. The tech sieged up as well. This is something INnoVation didn't do in that first game as well for drawn comparisons. He instead had the Widowmine push. He was nowhere near as successful pushing into a fourth base. So fourth base cancelled, and Solar is really struggling. The thing is as well, with the way the creep's gone, he's obviously focused on creep out in front of this third, which does get it towards the middle of the map quite nicely. That means the creep on this fourth base is actually very limited, so there's nothing to stop INnoVation just getting here in the first place. Nothing to slow him down, and so Solar just wasn't in position at all. INnoVation will see that Solar's now going to continue to advance his expansion pattern in a very interesting way, continuing through the bottom side because of what he's forced through the top. Might be able to get a creep tumor too as he gathers up with other units here as well. INnoVation, I mean, creep has to be one of the priorities on his mind now. We saw it in that last game as well in game number 1, where it was just that stage where he's like, okay, I'm going to scan a bunch of creep tumors now, clean those out, and then I'm going to hit my 2-2 push or so. Now, he's a little bit away from 2-2, but, you know, if you start cleaning up the creep now, get that done, obviously it just sets you up nicely for the follow-up. Counter-attack from Solar as he comes through the top side, something which could maybe bring INnoVation back a little bit, distract him for a while. Could definitely take some of the momentum away and stop him from just being the player who's in control of this game number 3. Does get a cancel on the 4th base already, but does warn INnoVation about the fact that this army's coming in. His second factory out in the front, he is obviously in a bit of a tough spot. And Lings are sitting back home, and they'll get here pretty quickly, but some Lings and Banes going towards the 3rd base as well. INnoVation's going to have to continue to chase these Lings and Banes down. 8 SCVs, lost 9 SCVs, but honestly, it's a lot of units lost from Solo, right? He gave up a lot of Ling Bane to be able to do this. I wouldn't say he's necessarily been able to achieve that much with it. The attempt to run away as well, blocked by the fact that this area is walled off too. One thing I will say is INnoVation probably should replace this wall, because we see it so often. You break down the wall in the first run by, and the first run by is like, oh, okay, well, it was okay, but it wasn't kind of crazy. But then the next run by becomes so much more dangerous because the Terran players don't re-wall, and if they don't re-wall, you don't even have to bust through the first wall, and then it starts becoming much more of a problem. The Lings and the Banes get a lot further, a lot more quickly, and your units coming in as response have a lot of trouble. Man, you can see what INnoVation's done. This expansion pattern is awful for Solar. This tank position on the low ground is going to hit this base, and well, now Solar's going to have to relocate back to the top side, where he also has no creep spread still, really. Solar's going to counterattack with those units, or does he want to extend in a flank? I think a counterattack is more likely, as INnoVation will unsiege and keep pressing forward. Still staying off of creep means it's very difficult for Solar to know where INnoVation is at any point. It's very scary to attack into that army as well if you don't know if it's sieged up, you don't know how it's positioned. Solar just completely blind right now as INnoVation rotates back around. The one good thing from Solar is this base is very far away from this base, so it's not like INnoVation can just jump on this base to the right-hand side again super quickly. There's a Baneland and a few Zerglings heading up to the top side. Medevac with a couple Marines and Widow Mines inside coming over to the right. You do just see INnoVation getting up towards his 4th now. Remember, he did have a cancelled 4th base before to that run by, so was slowed down a little bit in terms of getting up towards this. INnoVation currently on 2-2 upgrades, heading towards 3-3 as Solar's 2-2 finishes. Will opt for the Ultralisks once again here in this game, Solar. I mean, he doesn't really have the economy or the bank to think about going straight towards Broodlords. To do that, you really need 80 drones, a good bank so that you can trade and keep trading as a distraction while you set up into that. As Lings just run in here now, absolutely disastrous. The drop picked off 9 drones as well. And that's maybe why Solar just sort of ran into that army with just a bunch of Lings. And really didn't have a good time. Widowmine gets taken down, sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, he killed a bunch of Banes and Lings as well. Just feels like whatever INnoVation does is just always the right decision at the moment. Big scan as well, so much creep to be cleaned out in the middle. INnoVation still keeping control of this. Just a couple of creep teamers to his left-hand side, but he scans as well. He knows they're there. He's going to keep pressing forward. Solar doesn't have the army right now to fight because he doesn't have the ultras out. So INnoVation can really abuse these few moments. Even when the ultras come out, they don't have chitinous just yet. So Solar will still be reluctant to take an engagement. And again, he's not even really positioned to fight. He's positioned to run by and counterattack. Siege tank here will just get that one Bane that was a little bit square away in the front. But maybe get the rest of the Banes. A lot of depots lost actually. INnoVation will end up supply blocked. Marines coming down as the Zerglings start to flood in. Widow Mines can burrow at least. INnoVation needs to pay attention there. Those Widow Mines not burrowing at all. Finally, one of them gets burrowed, and actually we'll get a big shot on the Zerglings. Meanwhile, a push forwards from INnoVation on the other side. This is the problem now for INnoVation. Taking a fight while he's under attack on the other side. This is very messy for him as Widow Mines clean up an Ultra. But INnoVation is starting to lose this base over here. He's lost workers, and suddenly Solar is able to make a hold. So Solar's able to make a hold. INnoVation will be pushed back for what feels like the first time in this game. And well, he doesn't have a lot of creep spread to work with, but he buys himself some time. As Solar, you can just see, make some Banelings. He gets ready to just go into this here. He's ready for one big fight. Take advantage of the position he just put himself into. Liberators need to siege up. They need to get themselves in position. Widow Mines are going to start burrowing desperately. They need anything they can get here as those Marines over here are burrowed. Oh my god, that connection on the Banelings is huge though. A lot of Banes going down, but can INnoVation hold on? He's got so many medevacs, but not really any units on the ground. He needs reinforcements desperately as he loses this base on the 3rd. He has the Liberators relocating. SCVs could maybe lift into the medevacs, but he doesn't get there. Now INnoVation is supply blocked after all of this. Wow. INnoVation controls the entire game for 10, 11, 12 minutes. And he falls apart because that run by from Solar gets a little bit too much done as INnoVation's attacking, and the multitasking became a bit too much from INnoVation and just got turned completely away. 51 SCV is down, and the recovery from this point from INnoVation is almost impossible. He's got a lot of army supply, but a lot of it's medevac, so he doesn't even have that much to fight with. So much of it is actually just supporting units. And against Ultras and Vipers and stuff like that, probably not going to be able to happen. As you see, the Lings continue to push on towards the Banes as well. GG from INnoVation. And Solar. This was such a... I just want to bring up the graphs here for a moment. God, this is such a... This game is so unfortunate for INnoVation. He keeps the economy really even, which is very good for a Terran, because until the very end, he was trading very well. You think he just lost 51 SCVs, he still only ends the game 1,500 resources down. You can see here just that dip in army as he took the bad fight, and obviously it just falls apart from there. GG's. And that's going to be INnoVation falling apart. Those run-bys are so powerful. It's what Solo was missing in game number 1. And as Solo missed it in game number 1, he really kind of fixed that in game number 3 here, which was a very similar game otherwise. A lot of run-bys, and it really was the winning factor. There was nothing else that was going right for Solo in this game. Nothing else. Okay, he got the Hive texture. You know, that's fine. He continued his transition. But other than that, Solo really just was like down and out, and that run-by brings him right back into the game. GG's, and INnoVation has to tap out. Solo takes the first series of our day on the B stream here, 2-1, and we are going to be jumping into another series very shortly, hopefully, as Ragnarok 2 Ozgumiho. Oh my gosh, what's going on? The Terrans, no! We're going to be jumping into our next series soon. We're going to be casting the Serral versus Solo matchup. Hopefully that gets started in just a few moments. Some ZVZ action against between two players who are at the top of the group right now.